Hi, I'm Tony. I am starting this vlog, I don't know what to call it, video, because I struggled with my academics in school, and I got pulled out of my regular class for assistance with reading and math. And that was in like the mid 80s, 86 or 7, when that happened to me. Now I'm a mom of a 13-year-old boy. He's been in special education since he was in first grade. The reason is because when he started school, I noticed that in kindergarten he wouldn't read like the other kids, like as fluent or, like as smoothly. I mean, and not that kindergartners read very smooth, but he wasn't picking up on sight words, and I just felt like there was a delay that was going to cause problems. So I was in the special education room in a preschool level, and I had kids in that class who were reading better than my kindergartner. So having that experience at the school, I think, is what helped me decide to put Grady in special education. And I'm glad I did. It's been a long journey. In first grade, he was just with the special education for reading and math. They did test him. The diagnostician at the school, they found no specific diagnosis where they could pinpoint that he was dyslexic or anything. What they came up with is he had a speech issue, and I wish I knew more specifically what they said about that, because it's just a speech issue where he couldn't form sounds of letters. Also, he's left-handed. So at the time when his teachers, right-handed teachers, are teaching him handwriting, he wasn't catching on. And the diagnostician came up with this: he has short-term and long-term processing disorder. That did not mean shit to me at the time. And so his dad and I went trying to figure out, like, what can we do? He sees his pediatrician, and we take him to all the appointments, and nobody's ever said anything that he was going to potentially have a problem. He doesn't have any hearing. He passed all the physicals. Like, it wasn't making sense to us why we were having this show up. So we took him to an eye doctor appointment and found out he had, we live here in the Fort Worth area, so we went to a doctor in Lake Worth named Dr. Connie, if you're in this area. And he has a strong belief that kids get mislabeled or misdiagnosed with certain mental processing disorders when actually they have a vision, just like a vision error, like something in their vision needs to be corrected. He wrote a book about it. So we saw Dr. Connie and and found out Grady has like a convergence divergence eye issue, which means independently his eyeballs work 20/20, but working together there's an error when he's reading, whenever he has to bring the eyeballs together or whenever the eyeballs separate to do, peripheral work or whatever. So we got him glasses, and I let him continue on. He continued on to the second grade. After the end of second grade, I felt like the reading gap in where he was and where the class was getting bigger, not smaller, even with classes. And the special education ARD meetings, I would go to them and they would flood me with information, and then I would cry because we're talking about my kid. And for me, that brought up for me, it took me back to whenever I was being pulled out of class for special education, and I hated it. Looking different than my friends, not being able to go, to reading circle with my friends. I had to go to this other teacher. The math special education teacher was an older woman, who was really stern, and I don't know, she just wasn't very loving or caring or sympathetic. And so the math part I really hated. I was doing bare minimum when I was in pull-out time, just to get through whatever they wanted me to do so I could get the hell back to my friends. So I was fearful, like these ARD meetings triggered me back to that place, and I was scared this was the experience that Grady was having or going to have, and that wasn't the case at all. All of Grady's special education teachers, all of Grady's teachers to this day talk about how hard he works and how sweet he is, and he really just wants to please and, be a good performer and, all the things. He's very popular with all of the teachers and his friends. And so that's encouraging. But I held him back in second grade. The reason was because of that gap getting bigger. And I felt like I was drowning in those ARD meetings. And like I was being talked at. Like the school sat on that side of the conference table. Me and my husband sat on the other side. And they just told us things. And I had no expectation. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just sitting there listening, trying to answer their questions, and try not to get emotional. So, in second grade, the second time, I'm still working at the school district, but I moved to a different campus. So, because at the time when he started school, we were at a different house. So when I moved campuses, I was holding him back. I got to move him to a different campus. He got to move to our home campus that was closest to our house. So that, I felt good about that because his friends at the other elementary school wouldn't technically know he was being held back. So I held him back in second grade. Again, Grady is very popular with his teachers and his friends at this new school. He's pretty upset that he's getting held back. I mean, he did struggle with that psychologically. It did some damage. However, academically, he started progressing and meeting his goals. Instead of just the ARD committee setting a goal, he started like meeting those goals and like accomplishing the ones that we set for him in those meetings. Here's the reason why. When he went to second grade, and it was by the grace of God, this woman she's instrumental in all of Grady's success and my success with this school district. She's a special education advocate. And if your kid is in special ed and you feel like you're drowning at an ARD meeting, or you just get emotional at an ARD meeting, find a special education advocate. Here's the reason. She's not an attorney. I think there are special education advocates that do both attorney and special education advocacy. She just happens to not be one of those. But she knows the law about what the ISD has to provide for your kid and what the expectation is for the ISD. And those laws, I mean, they change and fluctuate with, whatever laws are passed down in Austin, which I can't keep up with. I have a job and I can't be his teacher. He doesn't respond to me like some people might come after me saying, well, you should homeschool him. He doesn't respond to me as his teacher. We did that in COVID. It was a disaster. But he will respond to his teachers. So I just know that his being a teacher, I'm working in the school, I just know that's not my role in his life. I'm his mom. And so having that special education advocate, and even just working in a special education class, I don't know all of the things. I knew some. And I knew, like some accommodations could help Grady, but I don't know the rules about them or the laws about them or anything. So, like I said, she was instrumental in helping me. And I just feel like not enough parents know that is an option to have. And it most definitely is. If you get a special education advocate, you'll find out that you may have more options in your child's education that you also didn't know about. Or I didn't know this. You are an equal participant in the ARD committee as the teachers. I didn't know that. So if you are going to ARD meetings and you feel like you are being talked at, just know that is not the case. You are the parent. You have every right to ask for an ARD meeting as any of the teachers. And if you have any concerns, then you can call an ARD meeting anytime. As a kid who has special needs, if your home situation changes and you want an ARD meeting about it and let the ARD committee know that this might cause some, even if it's just emotional changes, and you might need to set a different goal or change something on an FIE or PLAF or anything. You can call an ARD committee meeting for that. Talk to your special education representative on the campus that your kid goes to school, and they can let you know if an official ARD is needed, or if you need to make an amendment, or they'll tell you. But I just wanted to come on here and say, this is hard. Those ARD meetings are hard. And without my special education advocate, they would come after me. I mean, I feel like, not that I feel attacked. I feel like their goal is to put the kid through the process, put the kid through the school system, regardless of his skill level, regardless of, improving or not improving. Just the analogy, herding cattle. That's how I feel they want to do to my kid. That's not what your kid deserves or what your kid needs. Your kid deserves a fair education. And I think not enough parents are standing up for that. And that's why we have a school system in the condition that it's in. We all hate it. And I just wanted to come on here and say, if you're struggling, I understand. I feel you. If you're struggling with a special education student, get yourself an advocate. You can leave comments. I will take emails. You can text me. As a parent and a kid who's been through it, this is rough. So, I appreciate you listening. Thanks.